And then they send something to her teachers. But she should talk to her teachers. Like she, the teachers know how to submit it once they're sent the information. It's kind of tricky like now because everything's online and okay, you're out. Yeah, exactly. But thank you. Okay, we can do it.
I figured I would see you. No, not yet. I kind of recognized him. So Ross Barr was our son that started, and he's the one who helped us. He just switched. Yeah. He's doing great. Yeah. So we're good to see you. Yeah, good to see you.
There were still a couple people in there. And, okay, here you guys go.
Sounds good. Yeah, he liked it. He liked it. He did all.
Anybody else that didn't get a sheet?
I remember going there again. But he could be, so yeah.
Okay, parents of rising ninth graders, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have so many wonderful parents here. Thank you so much for coming. This is a parent coffee. I will say we have all the parents, but we don't really have the coffee yet. It's not done, but we're making a ton of coffee, so everybody is required to have a cup of coffee at some point here. There's also water over there for anybody who needs that. And I want to introduce our wonderful guidance director, Susie Eichholz, from Heritage High School, and she has offered to come over here and talk to you all about rising ninth grade and course selection, which we know is very important because of just all the parents who have been able to attend this morning. And for those of you who are live streaming, hello, and for those parents that will be viewing this later through our website, again, welcome. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Eichholz. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you all. Let's see. It says it's on.
It says it's on. Okay, that's Mr. Howell.
Well, I'll thank you without a microphone for now, but I know sometimes it's easier
That's
with
more
it.
for the online people,
Okay.
so they can hear you better.
So it won't.
It won't work here. It won't amplify your voice.
So I'll just hold it like this. And it's totally natural. All right. I'm Suzanne Eichholz. I'm the Director of Counseling at Heritage, and I really want to thank you all for being here and welcome you and let you know that we are excited to pretty soon welcome the class of 2021, which is tough for me to believe. I'm sure it's even tougher for you all to believe, but we're excited to have you. We have a lot of good things going on at Heritage, and we're happy to have you be a part of it. So my goal for today, I want to hopefully have you all leave here feeling a bit more comfortable with the course selection process. Specifically, we'll touch on a few other pieces. But that course selection process, we really feel strongly kind of lays the groundwork for a good, positive year for your student in many areas. So my hope is to help you get a little bit more informed and then point you to some resources where you can continue that conversation as a family with your students after you leave here. Okay, so just some basics. Our principal is Mr. Jeff Adam. We have 3 assistant principals. They divide by last name. Those are Mr. Ross Armstrong, Ms. Kim Turner, and Mr. Adrian Powell. And just as a side note, we will post this also on our website. Okay, so feel free to listen without worrying about taking cell shots or taking notes. Feel free to do that as well if that's your comfort zone. One fun fact about our admin team with the assistant principals, we are the only high school in Loudoun County that has had the same assistant principals in action since day 1 of our opening. Wow. And I feel like that speaks to the quality of our school, so you're very fortunate in that aspect. That's me, I'm the school counseling director. And then our athletic director is Mr. Ryan Rogers. This is his first year. It feels like it's been more than that, but he's doing exciting and new things as well with our students, so we're really looking forward to this coming year as well. Okay, So this is the counseling department. That's what happens when you have the director of counseling come to speak. We get to show our faces. The counselors, our official roles is that we have 3 main areas. So personal, social, academic, and college and career, which if you think about that is a pretty broad spectrum. So that basically means that if you're not sure where to turn about a question, send an email or give your counselor a call. So these are the faces as it stands today. As I said, I'm Suzanne Eichholz, I'm the director. And we break up by last name. So the idea is that we aim for consistency. We also try to keep siblings together. So each counselor has different grade levels, but all the same section of last name. So Ms. Zawistowski, if your student at this point has a last name that starts at the beginning of the alphabet, A through E, Ms. Zawistowski will be their counselor. Ms. Barr is the next section. Ms. Kimmery Brown and Mr. Keenan Elder for the end of the alphabet. Ms. Negron might be a familiar face for you all. I know she works at Harper Park as well. She's our parent liaison, and she's just a wonderful resource to help connect parents with questions. She helps us with a lot of our new registrations. So she is part of our team and a crucial one at that. Ms. Lolita Smart is the Career Center Specialist. We are fortunate to have the entire Smart family kind of join our forces at Heritage. Mr. Smart is our Safety and Security Specialist. And Mrs. Smart is a person and a face that we encourage our students to get to know each and every year. The Career Center at Heritage is located right outside the cafeteria. It's right in the counseling department, and it is an area of high traffic, and for good reason. She helps support, as they get older as well, scholarship searches, the process of applying for college, process of finding jobs, looking for involvement in military. We work very closely together, so she's an important person to know. Ms. Gottlieb is our testing coordinator, and then these are our lovely administrative assistants here. We show these pictures to our current students as well, so when we say, go see Mrs. Kelly about your college application paperwork, we know that she is the brown-haired secretary. So that is who we are. Okay, I'm going to start out with just a note about the transition to high school. You know, as you all know, you're probably seeing it already, those 8th graders, you know, there are a lot of changes that take place between middle school going to high school. Those of you with older students know this. We see it when we look at your students as seniors and we think back to what they were like as freshmen and the changes that have taken place. They're exciting. You know, a lot of times they're positive, but there are a lot. So we want to partner with you all in keeping your kids healthy and keeping them happy and safe so that they can be successful. So, you know, we would encourage your involvement. One way to get your student, if you're worried about your student, you know, just feeling out of their depths, and you have the opportunity and they're open to it, involvement in a fall sport or activity is a wonderful thing. I try to plug this with every rising 9th grade presentation we do. Number one, it starts before school starts. So they start really in August. It gets them in the building, they're familiar with the building, they see faces. A lot of our coaches also teach there, so there's some trusted adults right there that they're familiar with. They get to meet their peers in a smaller setting before school starts. So if you're hearing me talk about that and you're thinking, you know, I'm a little nervous about my student and their transition, and cross country, you know, marching band, volleyball, any of our fall sports or activities might interest them, I would encourage you to encourage them to go for it. There are just so many benefits of it. Yes?
Where do we find a list of the fall activities?
So as far as sports, our website, our athletic portion of the Heritage website is a great place to start. And that's under, I believe under academics for the music information, okay, as well if they're thinking about marching band. And if you can't find it, you can shoot me an email. Okay.
What about things that aren't sports or music?
Well, activities in general, you have an activities tab, which is pretty extensive. So if you're looking for ways that they can get involved that maybe don't involve tryouts, that's a good place to start as well. Okay. And as I said, the changes that are taking place, there are a lot, and many of them are very healthy and normal. It's expected that your students will have ups and downs. You know, through the teenage years, you know, they might break up with a boyfriend or girlfriend. They might have a boyfriend or girlfriend for the first time. You know, they might get some grades that they're not used to seeing. Their friend groups often go through some adjustments when they move to high school. So they're going to have good and bad days. What we ask you to kind of partner with us in is if you see those bad days and bad periods become more severe, become greater in length, we would ask that you partner with us. Reach out to us, let us know what's going on. We have wonderful resources we can try to help you with. We can help keep an eye on your kids during the school day when you have those nervous feelings that you're not with them. We want you to also kind of be aware for any changes, again, extended or severe in mood, appetite, sleeping habits, and if you start seeing a lack of interest in things that they typically were interested in before, we would ask you to reach out to us. And our school counseling webpage has some great resources just linked right there for ease of access as well. All right, now that I've scared all of you all, again, this is a very positive time in their life. Again, part of that groundwork for that positive experience is class choice. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today, and it really links together because how positive your student feels about their schedule, about the load that is on their plate, really relates to their well-being as well. So some things I want you all to consider, and this is where we are in this season right now. We're already looking ahead towards next year. Ms. Cole's working real hard to coordinate course selection for your students. Our counselors are going to come over here within the next few weeks to talk to them about class choices, picking their schedules. So some things to consider as you are helping have those family discussions, and we really do want it to be a family discussion. Okay, number one, we want you to consider what course your student was recommended for by their current teacher. Okay, at Heritage, we populate that into their student view account. We've just did our first pass at scheduling our students, and that is the first thing that our kids see when they go in there to schedule, and for good reason. The current teachers that your students have now see them, for us, every other day. They see them regularly in the academic environment. So you really want to take into consideration what they're seeing and what they're recommending. You know, I'm talking about the balance of their overall course load. Okay, so also using us as an example, we put in those teacher recommendations, pre-populate that. So if you have a strong student, every single teacher in their own island of a course may say, well, I recommend you for the next highest level. But then when you look at it as a student and a family, you're staring at, you know, 7 APs or 7 honors. And so it is your duty to take a look and say, is this balance correct? You know, because they're going to recommend for each individual class, but you have to think, what is this going to look like combined? What is this going to look like for my family in the evenings when my student's tired? You know, and you want to think about what are their interests in the courses. Now, obviously, there are courses that they have to take. You know, they have core courses. There's no getting around English, math, science, and history. But you're in charge of the levels that you pick. So if you know that your student loves math, you know, feels like they're very good at it, has a high confidence in that, maybe that is an area that you choose to up the rigor in. While at the same time, if science is not their thing, you don't have to go, you know, 100% on each of those as far as rigor. You can pick and choose based on what's best for your student and your family. So we want you to be aware of that. You also want to consider outside time commitments. Okay, if your student, probably not in 9th grade at this point, but down the road too, you know, if they're working outside of the home, if the family understanding is that they're helping to have some responsibilities with their younger siblings, if they're involved in sports, if they're just one of those go-getters that's in 10 clubs and they love it and thrive off of that, you want to consider all of those because everybody's only got 24 hours in the day. And so you want to think about big picture, what is this going to look like? And what is the effect on my student? No tracking. When I say that, I mean that if you choose, you know, an honors class or a research class in one area, you are not locked into that same level of rigor across the board. Okay, so again, just to emphasize that you can pick and choose which areas you want to increase the rigor. And also, looking forward, if you choose, you know, an honors level this coming year in English, but then you see how freshman year plays out and maybe it turns out that science is really the thing and English is a big struggle, we don't force you to stay on that track all 4 years. On the other side of the coin, if you take world history, call it something different now, world history up to 1500, what we used to know as world history 1, academic, and then it turns out your student just has a passion for history and they did exceptionally well. We're not saying that they can't go for that AP World History class as a sophomore, but what you need to realize is that the pre-AP World History class is designed to prepare them for the AP. So they can go for it. We will support you all in that. Just know that the classes are designed to prepare you, and so you might just be a little bit of extra help and a bit more of an adjustment if they bump to AP that next year, but we're not going to keep you out of it. So that's what I mean by no tracking. Okay, so I'm talking a lot about class choice. Obviously, we take it very, very seriously. We put a lot of importance on it. We're hoping to give you all the information today. I'm going to show you some resources you can take home and look at. We spend a lot of time, and we know that you all do as well, and so we want to honor that time that you all are putting into it. We really value the decisions you're making. So because of that, we are going to give you until May, and then we'll mail home a letter from Heritage High School, your first official, saying this is what your student is registered for next year as a freshman at Heritage High School, so that you can view that as a parent, keep having those discussions, and then we give you until a week after the last day of school, until June 16th, to make any final tweaks. Okay, but after June 16th, we're going to hold you to it. Okay, and that's for a number of reasons. Number one is that because you put so much time and effort into it, we feel like you've made good decisions, and we don't want anybody shortchanging themselves, you know, with the kind of ease of summer. All of a sudden the freshman nerves come in. They're in class 1 week and they look around and think everybody's got it together except for me. We don't want you to jump out, cut and run without giving it a good chance. So we're going to help support you through the rigor that you chose. We're going to point you towards resources, and we don't take class changes lightly. For the electives, that's, you know, we want you to pick your interests. Again, we take it seriously, but also we decide our staffing on what you all choose. And based on what your students want, we serve teachers that meet those needs. So that's the logistic one, basically. We don't change electives, because then we run the risk of not having the correct staffing for what your students want. So again, we take it seriously. We know you all do as well. So we have some structure to that. So that means, and we told the kids at Heritage this too, you can put your head in the sand until the last day of school. If this is too much to think about, that is fine, and then you have a week to discuss it. Okay, but you have until June 16th to get those decisions back to us in writing if you want to change. And there's a part on that form where you can write in if you want to drop anything or switch it. During the year, even having said that, we're not going to leave your kids stranded if they did decide to go for that rigor. You know, if they went for research, you know, research earth science, or they went for English 9 honors, they are really giving it their best effort, but high school threw some loops at them that they just weren't expecting, you all weren't expecting. We're going to try to help point them towards the resources. We're going to communicate, parent, teacher, counselor, but if we all agree that this is not working, and we know that we've made a good faith effort and followed the course change process, we're going to still have those conversations with you, okay? We just want you to kind of know the tone that we're not going to cut and run really quickly, because we value the time you're putting into it. One thing that, you know, I wish weren't a big piece, and I kind of put it down here on purpose, but we know it goes into your course selection process. There are bumps associated with GPA, associated with certain classes in the course selection process. The honors classes and dual enrolled classes have a 0.5 bump. AP courses have a 1.0 bump. Now, I explained this to our current students at Heritage as well, and there's still a little bit of misunderstanding. So what that means, I'll use an AP as an example just because it's a little bit easier with the 1 point bump. So if you are taking AP World History, which is the earliest AP course you can take in sophomore year, you get a B in that class. Well, it is 1.0 bump, but that B is still going on your transcript as a B. It doesn't magically turn into an A. What that bump means is that in your GPA, which is a big fraction of quality points divided by number of courses attempted, instead of that 3, which is the quality point associated with a B for your final year grade going into your GPA, you get a 4, okay? So the letter grade is always the letter grade, but when we calculate that number that is your GPA, instead of the 3 quality points, which is typical for a B, that's where the bump comes in. You get 4, which, as we know, raise the numerator, your fraction's going up, your GPA is going up. Having said that, good rule of thumb is that if your student is in one of these honors or AP classes and they are struggling to get a C, I think that's your time to start really talking about, is this a good fit, okay? Expunging. This is something that, this is your time and this is only your time. You will be getting a letter mailed home. Do you want to
Right, I'll
talk
just,
logistics?
just read off about that.
Sure.
With the final report card, the sponge letters go home. And they went home last year too for 7th grade. And some of you who have high school accredited classes, you went ahead and expunged those classes because you repeated them and took them come over. So the same thing's going to happen in high school. If you took a high school class and your child is going to repeat that, that's either a world language or one of the high school math classes, then you need to fill out that expunge form. The difference is in going from 8th to 9th grade, that expunge form goes to the high school, and it is due by August 15th to the high school. So that's something to keep in mind, and if it's not expunged, then what happens is that.
So this is your window and this is your only window, okay? You need to make those choices. Get us the form if you want to say, you know what, my kid went for it, went for a high school course in middle school, I'm going to give him another shot. We're going to go ahead and take that off that record. This is your chance. After that date, there's no expunging. Okay, there's no expunging at the high school level. You can't, come back sophomore year and say, I didn't like that grade I got in freshman year, let's take it off. This is your one opportunity, and it's because we recognize that your students were middle school students taking high school courses, so there has to be a grace period involved in that, and so this is that. Okay?
I got a quick question.
Yes.
Okay, back in the days when I graduated, GPA maximum was 4 point. What is it now?
Wow. The highest GPA for a single class, an AP class, if you got an A plus and an AP class, an A is 4 quality points. You get the 1.0 bump, that's 5. But if you got an A plus, it's 4.3 quality points. So 4.3 plus 1.0, you could technically have 5.3 going into your fraction. Okay, now only if you took all AP classes could your GPA actually be 5.3, but we've got some pretty high GPAs in there.
Okay, we're talking about cumulative.
Well, cumulative, it's just such a mixed bag. I would hate to even guess, but I mean, it can go up to 4.7, at the very highest, which means that's an extremely impressive. No. The biggest thing that the colleges will look at is your transcript. Now, the GPA comes from the classes you took and the grades you got, so that's reflected on your transcript. But no college is going to zoom right in on that fraction and say, what's that fraction? Let me rank them. Okay, you're getting in, you're not. Because a 4.3 for a student who has taken all academic courses and gotten A pluses is a very different GPA than a 3.9 for a student who's taken AP courses, and gotten a smattering of B's and A's. That rigor is actually going to speak even louder. But again, with a caveat, you have to pick the balance that's best for your student. Okay?
What about if you look at valedictorian? What do you base it on?
Valedictorian is just based on GPA ranked in numerical order. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whoops. Sorry. Okay. So the structure of our course request and course dropping process. We do have some set time periods, and I'm going to tell you all this and watch you change it as a county policy probably in a year. But as we stand now, you have, again, some grace periods, and this is for everybody in high school. So we talked about the importance of the course selection process. Between day 1 of school up until 1 week after you get that first quarter report card, we recognize that you're getting to know your classes. Again, we're not going to have you jump out of there in week 1. We're going to help you work through the rigor, point you towards the steps for success. But let's say, junior year, you're giving AP Psychology a shot. You've heard it's great, it is a wonderful class, and you were really excited about taking it. But then you find that balance that you thought was really good just becomes a bit too much. Maybe you started a part-time job. And so in order to focus on your other core classes, you really feel like it's in your best interest to follow that course request, that course change process. You've tried everything. You think it's a best family decision to drop that AP Psychology. You have until 1 week after getting that first quarter report card to make that decision, and it never shows up on your transcript. Okay, that grade doesn't show up anywhere. It's not in your GPA. It's really kind of academically on your record like it never happened. So that's your grace period. Okay. Between that time and the end of semester 1 is no man's land. Okay, if you drop a course at that point, you're getting zeros plugged in for every assignment, so it's not something you want to do unless it's enough anyway, and you're like, we'll just cut and run, but hopefully that's not the situation. So that's no man's land, right? After that 1 week after your report card till the end of first semester. So if you're going to stick it out and you're like, you know what, I think I'm going to try a few more strategies. I'm really, committed to this. I want to try it. Stick it out until semester. At that point, you have another decision time frame. Okay, so you get up until a week after semester, quarter 2 report cards, to decide, okay, how's it looking? Now where am I? And then at that point, if you decide to drop the class, that semester grade goes on your transcript. that grade gets factored in as a half attempt towards your GPA, but you don't get a half credit. Okay, so it's on there because you spent too many class hours in there to just wave it off. It's on there, but then you get a free pass at the rest of the year. You know, if you're calling it quits with a C, that C goes on there, but there's no penalty for the rest of the year. Okay, and then from then on till the end, it's no man's land again. You know, if you drop it, you're getting Z's plugged in. It's going to be an F on your transcript. It gets factored into your GPA. So we want you to have this time frame in your head. And again, all of those conversations are going to go through the counseling office. You're going to talk to the teacher. Hopefully your student will talk to the teacher, right? It's a process. And one thing you do need to consider is that space may be limited in other classes if it's an elective to jump in. And if it's a year long, you're not going to be able to add that if it's 3 weeks into the year already, because that's just not fair to anyone and you don't have enough seat time to get that credit. Okay, so we just want you to have that structure in mind. Okay, different strategies for student success. I know every school has an agenda. Your kids are used to an agenda here. We give them agendas at high school. It might be a little smaller. I'm not familiar with the size of it here, but they need to use it. Okay, even though they're in high school, they need to use it. You know, they still need to write down everything. Plus, it's how they get to go to the bathroom if they need to. That's where they put their passes. Okay, so make sure they have it and they use it. We encourage them to do their homework starting on the day it's assigned. Okay, so if you have a tough class on an A day, go home, start that work on an A day. It gives you time to contact the teacher if you have questions. It helps it spread out over 2 days. Start your homework on the day it's assigned. Our teachers have updated web pages, updated vision pages. Those are excellent resources. A lot of them, if your student is absent, you know, they'll say, all right, check my vision page. I know you can see what you missed. And so you can go there for resources, for updates, and for tools for help. Ask questions. This can be a tough thing, especially freshman year. Ask questions in class. If that is not your student's comfort zone, they can send their teacher an email. Okay, we encourage that email communication between student and teachers. The teachers are very open to it. They would much rather have them ask a question, you know, while they're working on something so that they can get back to them and help them. Check your student view grades. Are your students at this point in a habit of going online and checking? Right, it's a very natural thing. We want them to continue to do that so they are involved and invested in how they're doing in school. Communicate with your teacher. Get involved, maintain a balance, as I said, set goals, you know, let them see how they're doing and say, all right, how are you with this? You know, do you see areas that you would like to improve in? And write those down as a family so that they can become tangible. And then who they surround themselves with makes a big difference for this, okay? So if you've talked about goals, you know what their aims are. You need to have them take a look and say, are you surrounding yourself with people that are, also shooting for goals? You know, you want all areas of your life to kind of reflect where you are and what your goals are. Okay, so a simple freshman schedule, you know, just really bare bones here. They get more choices as they get older, okay? But you have 7 credits worth of classes. Their schedule is 8 periods long. That's because one of those blocks is going to be a study hall. And for us, that falls wherever it works in their schedule. So their sample schedule, they have to take English 9 at some level. They have to take a math at some level, a science at some level. And those options for science are either earth science at either research or the academic level or research biology. They have to take history, which is either world history / geography 2-1500, used to be called world history 1, at either the academic or the pre-AP level. They have to take health PE. Okay, so right there we're up to 5. Okay, and if your student wants to keep that option of advanced studies diploma open, the 6th is going to be a world language, okay, which they may have started here or they may not have. And if they haven't, they can still reach it at Heritage, okay? And then they get 1 elective. Okay, so the older they get, you know, health PE goes away. Maybe they've completed the world language sequence and they want to open up an elective credit. So they get more elective options as they get older, more space for it. And then they have a study hall. And at Heritage, we have an advisory. We call it Pride Time. We meet every Wednesday with the same group of students for about 20 minutes. And the idea is that those students then get to know in a small group, about 12 to 15, mixed grades. They get to hear from different levels. Your freshmen are going to see seniors that they probably would never have mixed with before. They're going to get to know faculty consistently for all 4 years. So this has been a really good tool for us.
study hall every day?
Study hall is an 8th block, but it just fits in wherever it works with your schedule. So it would be every other day. So if they have a 3rd period, they're going to have it every other day.
I'm just looking at this grid really quick. Is this like some, I'm jumping ahead here. So you just go across the board and just like, you just take this class.
So the back of this is pretty general, right? You're going to see a lot of times it's a choose your own adventure, and again, it depends on the area and the level. So it's not a straight across map. This is just to give you a general idea of each year what they're looking at. Yeah, on the front of this, you can look at this on the front. This is what your students are going to get when we come over for Harbor Park. Ms. Cole's probably going to give them a copy of this as well. This is just so that they have in front of them what their options are as freshmen. So you can be asking your student, okay, let's take a look. This is what you're going to ultimately sign and turn back into Ms. Cole for the course choices. Okay, so now about those courses, all right? We have what I feel is a very good resource for you all. We have a course information page on the Heritage website. If you go to the Heritage website, on the right under Parent Resources, it's the 2nd tab down. There we have listed information about every class we offer at Heritage. Okay, we have it broken up by core classes, just an overview as well as their course information, which talks about every class. It gives you an idea for the core classes of how much homework to expect per block. Okay, so if you see that it says 60 minutes of homework, that doesn't mean that that's every night. That means if they have that class on a day, between when they have that class till the next time it meets, that's 60 minutes expected. And that's an average. But let's see if I can take you there now. Splitting up our presentation here. This is what that web page looks like. Okay. So I want to point you to the core courses here. And this is also where I'll post this presentation there as well. Okay? But for the core courses, you can click on each of these and see an overview. I'm going to take you so that you can see specifically the information for Rising 9th and the levels. But this is the information you want to kind of digest as a family, go over with your student, and start piecing together that amount of time that each course is going to require to make sure you have a good balance. So for example, English, you click on the overview, it's actually going to take you to the English webpage because they have it so well organized. But you see right down here, English 9 Honors versus English 9 Academic. So that's the choice that you all are going to face with your students this year. So if you click on it, you'll have that resource available. Okay. So for English 9 Academic, the focus is going to be reading, writing, research, vocabulary, SOL competencies. You see that's the same between academic and honors, and here's where it kind of splits up a little bit. For English Academic, you're going to focus on basic writing skills, which are reinforced. English 9 Honors, you're aiming for a mastery of basic writing skills. Well, that's assumed as you come into the class. Students advance to complex writing skills. It's an increased rigor and a faster pace, and it's expected that they would have more independent learning. So I just want to talk about our honors courses in general at Heritage. It's going to be a much different feel than what your students are used to here. For various reasons, they're set up differently. At Heritage, what you can expect is that if they're picking English 9 Honors, it's no longer mixed. Okay, so every student in that English 9 Honors has signed up for English 9 Honors. They are following a specific English 9 Honors curriculum. Okay, so there's some flexibility here. Students within a same area can kind of choose which path, but they go fast and furious from day one, and they're all on the same page. Okay, so that's the difference you really need to understand, because that can catch some of our kids off guard. Back to our course selection page. Math, we actually have a pretty good PowerPoint that our math department chair, she made, and it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. It says, if you're here and you have this set of skills and this is your comfort zone, then you should consider this. Okay, so that, if you click on here, I'll just show you where to find it. Okay, and there is sound with this, but you can follow through here. Start at the table of contents. Okay, so this is kind of like a PowerPoint flow chart in real life. So for students currently in, and then you pick where your student currently is. Okay, and then it'll say if they are, extremely independent in their math facts, have a great comfort in such and such, then consider this. Okay, so I would point you to this resource for your math selections. One thing I do want to highlight, Algebra 2/Trig. Okay, that is our honors option. If your student has taken Algebra 1 and Geometry in middle school, and they're considering Algebra 2/Trig honors, that is a class for your hardcore math students. Okay, if your student struggles and is constantly a family conversation each night, have you done your math homework? No, I don't want to do my math homework. I can't do this. It's going to be tough in Algebra 2/Trig. Okay. Which isn't to say they can't do it. It's not to say they won't mature, at high school. We expect that, but you need to know what you're getting into. And Algebra 2/Trig is fast and furious. It is geared so that they are prepared then to do math analysis, which flies through pre-calculus and crams in the first part of AP Calc AB all in 1 year so that they can then go on to AP Calc BC and finish with multivariable. And for some kids that is wonderful. For other kids that would be a nightmare. Okay? So you need to be aware of that, make good choices. You're going to live through their freshman year alongside with them. Okay? So I would point you to this as a resource.
Sorry, I have another question here. So these 4 classes, the only time you get placement exam is the AP class. Other than that, you as a parent just select what math class you for your kids?
The choice is always yours. Yep, you all decide the levels each year, but we encourage you obviously to take into consider these other factors.
Can you just repeat the question because the live people aren't getting the question. So
For our people at home, the question was, is there a placement test for the courses that you're picking? No. There's no barrier that we have in Loudoun County to say you can take an AP class, but you can't. We don't do that, okay? But that's why we're trying to educate you into these are the factors that go into being successful and being healthy and happy in this, and this is why you need to determine the balance.
just so, I'm sorry, this is a recap. Again, I'm thinking far ahead here. So pretty much as my kids go to sophomore, junior, these are the choices I can pick for her, and there's no guidelines from the teachers or anything. You're on your own. What you want.
No, you're certainly not on your own. Hopefully this kind of shows you that. The question was, are you on your own in picking course selections? You give your resources and then have at it. No, I will say that we have the same structure as you all do here. Your counselors are meeting with every single student on their caseload individually every year. They're going over their course plan for the entire high school career to make sure they fit in those diploma requirements. We're communicating with you. We're giving you parent resources. Your teachers are going to start off with the recommendations. So there's a lot that goes into it. But I would say if you have any questions each year, contact the counselor. All right?
When do those teacher recommendations come?
Ms. Cole, do you want to talk about Harper Park specifically? Because I can speak to
just
her.
quickly, yeah, and then we're going to have time for questions and answers, but all the recommendations are already loaded into student parent view. Your teachers have recommended your children for either to repeat like a level math or move on, or a world language move on or repeat. And then for the core classes, it's either the academics or honor or the pre-AP level. So from that then, the students are going to decide where they want to be based on all this information. And along with parents too, we're going to come up with the best plan. Students will also be able to meet with me and parents, and we can plan a specific path for the student. Although we see there aren't that many options in 9th grade. You're going to get one elective.
It's more the levels and the
it's more
balance.
the levels. So, and your teachers have really carefully looked at the academic and the honors levels. We've been blessed with sampling from the high school for the honors and the academic levels that the teachers are going to be administering next week to your students to help them see the difference in lessons between academic and honors. And like Ms. Heichel said, it's really about balancing. You want your child to be able to balance. We have anxiety is the most prevalent kind of mental condition that we see, not only here at Harbor Park, but probably at Heritage and just around. Our kids are getting very, very stressed out. So we want to balance. Okay, so we'll do that.
For those of you at home, she said make sure your schedule is balanced. So this is the science link here, and our science department, our department chair is, she's on it, and so she has some different ways to giving you this information. So I'd encourage you to take a look at this website. We've got it linked specifically right over here, Rising Freshmen, and again, you don't have to remember where to go for all of these. It's one-stop shopping, course information page, and then you can follow the links. But if you want to see what this looks like, it's a Prezi. Okay, so you can access this. It'll look just like that on your screen. And then if you're not familiar with how this works, you basically click into it. It's going to pop up the whole presentation here. If you're not familiar, your students probably are. Okay, so you can ask them as well. I'm sure they've seen this. So you're going to have to zoom out, click on the area you're interested in, and then you can focus more. Okay, so things to consider. You can look at science graduation requirements. She has it kind of organized visually, some color coding in there, so you can see this is a pretty rigorous track. This is if science is a strong suit, but maybe not a huge interest. So you can check that out. And then academic or research, right? And she'll talk about what's the difference between academic and research, why earth science, and why research. Okay, so this is a really good tool as well that I would point you to. So I would encourage you to explore that page. It's a good resource. Tell your friends. We also have had all of our electives, our elective departments at Heritage create little promotion videos to give the kids a different way to see what their course is about. They were shown school-wide during a couple weeks ago. Those are linked here as well. So you're not just thinking about next year, you want to kind of plan ahead, but if you want to see, well, what does it mean to be in CAD? Check out the video, okay? So follow those links, and that's down at the bottom. Okay, so if I can get back here. Okay, so just some general things too. We're not solely academic, but we want you to know that we have some different presentations, initiatives, resources for you all throughout the year for each year that you're at Heritage, and so we want you to be aware of that. Just one additional plug: Monroe Tech. That is an amazing opportunity for your students. If you all have been in the county, parents were in the county, your grandparents were in the county, you might have one idea of what Monroe Tech is. It is nothing like that anymore. Okay, we're getting new facilities, I believe fall of 2018, so not next year, but the year after, which actually might be perfect for your students. I would encourage you all to check out the website, see what programs they offer, because it does take some planning in the scheduling. If you go to Monroe, then you're there every other day, because those classes carry 3 credits. It's like taking your electives and putting them on steroids and getting the most out of them. Okay, but you have to be purposeful and make sure that you can fit everything in there. Sometimes it means a virtual class over the summer, sometimes not, but you want to plan ahead. So I'd encourage you, they have a wonderful website. Take a look at all the different programs. If you see one that you know that your student has talked about wanting to be a vet since they were 6 and they're still really interested in science, and it's something they might want to pursue, the majority of our students at Monroe are going on to 2- or 4-year colleges. And if your student can fit that into their elective choices, and they're applying for veterinary science at Virginia Tech, what they can talk about in their application is going to be worlds apart from somebody who hasn't had that hands-on experience. A lot of those programs come, you leave there with certifications. If your student is interested in nursing, that is just an amazing opportunity. It takes planning, but they can leave there. A lot of these bachelor level nursing programs are extremely difficult to get into. And the partnership that we have with NOVA and the nursing program there, and then through JMU, if you can get in on the ground floor and have that experience, it's completely a leg up, and the money that you save is amazing. So I would just encourage you all to take a look at that and talk to your kids, see if it's something that interests them. If it is, it's a wonderful opportunity. There's an application process that comes with it. So we're talking to our students now about it. The applications for next year are due March 31st. But it's something you want to think about ahead of time because it does take planning. And then some dates to know. We are going to host a Rising Ninth Grade Night at Heritage on Tuesday, March 7th at 7 p.m. at our house in the auditorium. Okay, so you'll get more information there as well.
Is this for the parents?
I didn't see who asked the question. The question was, is this for the parents? And absolutely, and I would bring your students. Yep, bring the whole family. And then for the athletic information, I talked about how important it is to get involved, and that's not only in athletics. Not every student is a athlete, and that is fine. But there's a lot of information to know. There are tryouts you need to prepare for, and so we are having the athletics information night that we're going to host here. That's Wednesday, May 10th, at 7 p.m. in your auditorium.
Did you say the other one was Tuesday, March 9th?
March 7th.
Okay, sorry.
Yep. Roar Pride. There you go. Now we can open it up to questions and answers. I want you all to feel free if you feel like you're good, you don't have any specific questions right now. If you think of it later, feel free to email me. I won't be offended if you've spent your hour and you're done, but I do want to open it up for any question and answers. Yes.
You mentioned the importance of peers in ninth grade. I've heard the rumor that Harper's the only school that tracks into Heritage.
Yes.
What percentage of the ninth grade class of Heritage is roughly composed of Harper?
Is coming from Harper Park? You are our only middle school feeder at this point, yeah. So, they will see the same kids that they've been seeing, which, is a bonus and sometimes a challenge. But the tricky part with peers in ninth grade is now everybody's schedule looks completely different. And those kids that you were guaranteed to see every day, you need to see them in the hall, you need to have at least 4 classes with your best friend. Well, those connections aren't necessarily there anymore, so some kids can feel a little lost or out on their own. Yeah, so that's why I mentioned that. But yes, Harper Park is the only middle school feeder at Heritage.
Could you repeat the question?
The question was about...
That's one. That one. The next one.
Okay. All right, yes.
What about Mandarin?
We do not, the question was, what about Mandarin Chinese? We do not currently offer Mandarin Chinese.
Cycles, could you tell them the languages, because there's a new one with Russian?
With Russian, yes. And on here, you can take a look. It lists our world languages available. We have American Sign Language. And we are excited that we're now going to offer level 4 of American Sign Language. So that's a great opportunity. So we have ASL 1, is what we refer to it as. We have French, German, Latin. We're offering Russian, which is exciting, and our kids have really enjoyed that program, in Spanish. And I would say that if you're seeing something that is not on here, I would encourage you to also check out Virtual Loudon, if that might be a good fit for your student for something that you're just not seeing there. I would say language is sometimes tough virtually, though. Yes. Another question? Yes.
Is there a place online to find out what the requirements are for different diplomas?
Yes. Yes, there is. So we have, that's currently what we're presenting all of the students right now. I'll check and see if it was in the PowerPoint that's already linked there, but if not, we'll get it up there. Yeah. The question was, is there a place online that you can see the different diploma requirements? And I will say that it can feel kind of overwhelming at this point, which is why I didn't spend a lot of time on it. Ms. Cole is familiar with it. She goes over it with your students. They get it each year in their individual counseling meetings at high school, so we are happy to put that up there as well. Question?
I have a couple of questions. Monroe Tech,
Yes.
is there on their website, or does it say like what classes they should be taking next year or the following year in order to prepare for that? Like what track they should be on?
I am not positive, but I know that we just got a document like that. So I'm not sure if they also have that linked. But I will say that the question was, for Monroe Tech, is there anything linked that says, here's what you should be taking to prepare for that? they have that information, they have that device. I can't speak to whether that is a specific document linked on there. If you're not finding it, I would say contact either the placement coordinator there, Ms. Kim Yeager, or the counselor over there, Ms. Michelle Trudell, because
Would the
they certainly.
counselors here be able to say, hey, for next year you should be taking this level if you are thinking about doing Monroe Tech?
Well, I just know that the sophomore year is the first year you can actually take a class, and that's the Introduction to Health and Medical Sciences, and then most of the classes are in 11th and 12th grade. But the reason you want to prepare now is because you want to, if you want the advanced diploma, you have to suffice all the core classes in order to add those additional classes in it. It's a very competitive application process, and so if students do want to fit that into their academic plan, it is good to look at it now. And we can do that here in the middle school. We can look at all the different options.
I saw that it said a shadowing day, 10th
Yes.
and 11th. Is that 10th and 11th grade?
Yes,
Yes.
but they also have, they have a more clever name for this that I can't remember, but basically Tuesdays they have open as an opportunity to come and visit. And so they are very open that if you want to just individually contact them and say, you know, I'd like to set up a visit, my student might be in the future interested in this program, they'll work with you. Yeah. Good. Yes.
You have Russian level 1. Are you planning to have level 2 and 3? Because like the kid is already speaking Russian. So
Yes.
we
do have higher levels. So if your student is currently speaking Russian, and this would be with any language, if you feel like they've already got a basic level of knowledge, then we would just ask that we have a conversation with our current language teacher to say what's the most appropriate placement for them.
And another question, thank you. In order to get on the varsity team,
Yes.
like soccer team,
Uh-huh.
what do we need to do?
The question was, in order to get on the varsity team, for example, the soccer team, what do you need to do? I guess the same thing you need to do again to Carnegie Hall, right? Practice, practice, practice. But, you know, different sports teams have a different level of competition, a different level of rigor. You know, we have some extremely successful sports teams, and sometimes it varies each year which teams those are. I would say check out the athletic page, you know, make sure you're aware of trials. They also have kind of preparatory, you know, like our football players are still in the weight room lifting, you know, at this point, even though it's off season. So you want to kind of know, when are they meeting? What can your student do to prepare? If you have specific questions you're not seeing addressed on the athletic website, I would contact Mr. Rogers. Okay? Any other questions? Yes.
And what happens when the student finish, example earlier, Spanish 4,
Okay.
in 9th grade? They take another language in the next year, or?
So that's a good question. The question was, what happens if a student finishes Spanish 4? And just, we streamlined this sheet, okay, because we're not going to typically have a 9th grader taking Spanish 5 or AP Spanish. It's just not appropriate. But there are further levels that aren't listed on here. Okay, so if they're in Spanish 4, we hope they take Spanish 5, right? And then if they're done with that, we hope they take AP. Okay? Yes?
Is there a program that's similar to Spectrum?
Like what used to be called Gifted and Talented and Spectrum. No is the short answer. But what you need to, the question is there a program at Heritage along the lines of Spectrum? It's kind of more personalized in that, again, your course choice is up to you all. So you can select as rigorous of a course load balance as is appropriate for your student. You know, there's no, well, this is the 9 honors, well, this is the 9 honors with Spectrum additional. 9 honors is as honors as it gets for English 9, you know, and so the nice thing is that you don't have to have been in Spectrum to select 9 honors. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
And of course, you're probably hearing about, you know, applications for AOS, you know, applications for AET, the different academies there as well, which are wonderful and very appropriate for some students. I would say that if you have a student, they're going for it, and it doesn't work out, please be assured that we have extremely rigorous classes available at Heritage, and our kids are going places. Okay. Any other questions?
For virtual routing, specifically have PE, are there any criteria that you can get this somewhere?
The question was for Virtual Latin Health and PE about the criteria, and I would, for specifics, direct you to the Virtual Latin webpage. They do have that course available. There's also a driver's ed component that you can choose or not choose, so you want to think about the age with that. I will say that our students that have gone through that, it's very rigorous. You know, it's very rigorous as far as having the clock hours and everything. Any other questions? Okay, we'll take a few more, and then I'm happy to stay around if you have individual ones. Yes?
Are these the only science choices for ninth graders?
Earth science, academic, research, earth science, and research biology, yes. Yes. Yeah.
You've said this, so I apologize.
That's okay.
So for AP, if they chose AP, there's no testing in. Is there just...
Correct. The question was, if they want to select AP, do they have to take a test to get in? The answer is absolutely not. Okay? So we try to make you all as aware as possible about the rigor involved with these classes and what is expected. And then it's up to the course selection process, you all talking to your students, taking into consideration the teacher recommendation, asking us questions for you to make that choice as whether that's appropriate or not. But it's open to everyone.
Back then on the research biology, because I've had quite a few students asking me about that, and the teachers are not recommending them for research biology, but I think the parents need to know a little bit more about that.
So research biology, and I would point you to the science presentation as well. If you choose to do research biology, you need to understand that you are missing the information that your student would get in research earth science. So they would need to be prepared to independently prepare themselves for that piece, because in research biology, you are expected to have a level of understanding and knowledge about research so that you can get involved in the science fair projects, complete those high-level research projects. So is it possible to go into research biology as a freshman? Yes, okay? But you need to know that that student, like I said with Algebra 2 Trig, needs to be a strong science student, because what happens if you take research biology as a freshman, you cut out your science option, right? So you have 4 years of school, you need to have 4 credits of science. You are then forced into taking the higher level sciences when you're a junior or a senior. So if you know right now that your kid is not going to be a good match for, they would just be miserable in AP Chem, in AP Biology, in AP Physics, well, know that those are going to be some of your only options down the road if you start off at this point in the track. Which isn't to say it's not a good choice for some students, but you need to be really aware about what you're getting into so they don't flounder then, decide, well, okay, here I am senior year, and these aren't really good choices and I'm miserable, okay? So it's a good choice for some, it's not for everybody. Yes?
Sorry.
That's okay.
AP, do those credits count towards college credit?
So the question was, do AP credits count towards college credit? And this gives me a chance to do a little plug for dual enrollment, so I appreciate that. We have 2 ways of achieving college credit at Heritage. Each year we are able to offer more and more dual enrollment options. So this are the 2 ways you can get college credit through AP courses. The college credit is completely tied to how well they do on the AP exam at the end of the course. We don't require your students to take the AP exam. They don't have to take it to get the bump in their GPA, but if they are looking to apply to a 4-year college and have that college say, well, you're going to be able to place out of freshman year English, this is great. They need to take that exam and they need to do well on it, and then it depends on the 4-year college to say this is the score we need, or you know what, we don't take AP credit. So that is dependent upon that, and that's why that can kind of be pressureful with that. We also have dual enrollment options, even kind of more each year, and so what that means is that the college credit is, they get awarded college credit because for a teacher to be able to teach dual enrollment, they have to meet the qualifications that NOVA, and most of them are aligned with NOVA, sets out to be an adjunct professor. So they have to have had certain number of credit hours, they have to have had a master's in the field. So due to their own accreditation as a teacher and highly qualified status, we say this is a college course, all right? And the curriculum aligns with NOVA. They get a Heritage grade, and they leave with a NOVA college transcript. Okay, so for example, U.S. History dual enrollment is an option they would have junior year. So we have U.S. History dual enrollment, AP U.S. History. If your student does well in that U.S. History, they're receiving a C or higher, they're going to leave with that college transcript that says, I got a B in this college class. I got an A in this college class. They don't have to take an exam and pass it. It's just how they did in the course, okay? And then it's always dependent upon the 4-year colleges how they're going to deal with that, but there's nothing that can take away the fact that they have those college credits. They might use it for placement at the next level. They might say, okay, you don't have to go into this level, or they might just say, well, this adds to the rigor of your application, and that's great. One thing with that is that at NOVA, those dual enrollment classes are made up of actually 2 NOVA classes. So for example, our English 12 dual enrolled at NOVA is English 111 and English 112. So there is the caveat there that if you receive an F first semester, you know, at high school we say you got the whole year, you know, you can average that out, although we're talking about balance at that point. But for Nova, you've just failed their prerequisite for the second semester. So you can't continue in dual enrollment. Okay, so there are different rules like that, and we try to make sure you're really well prepared for that. So there are different ways of getting college credit, but the AP college credit is completely aligned with how well your student does on that test. Yes?
Are the Nova dual enrollment classes still free?
Yes. The question was, are the Nova dual enrollment classes still free? And the answer is yes.
For the honors classes, are they really good on transcript versus AP, or are they both similar hours?
So the question was $1 million question, basically what do colleges want to see on transcripts, right? Specifically with honors and dual enrollment and AP. So what the college admissions are going to do is they're going to take your student's transcript, and they're going to hold it up against what we offer at Heritage, and they're going to see how much did the student challenge themselves and how well did they do. Okay, so obviously an honors level class shows an increased rigor. You know, AP and dual enrollment show increased rigor. Then the next follow-up question is probably like, well, dual enrollment or AP, you know? And really, there are still schools out there, some of them, that say, you know what, we prefer AP, we're most comfortable with it, specifically UVA. So if you have a student that is a dream school, you know, you went there, your grandparent went there, then, you know, they need to be upfront about that and talk to their counselor, and, you know, then maybe AP is a better choice for that. But I will say that once we started this foray into dual enrollment courses, we surveyed the colleges. Virginia Tech treats them equally. JMU treats them equally. There are many excellent colleges out there that acknowledge the fact that these are just two ways of getting a college credit. And I would say that even for that student that maybe they're just looking at the Ivies or they're solely UVA focused, you know, and they're considering the APs, well, dual enrollment is also a midway option that we haven't had in the past. You know, so for example, English 12 dual enrollment, we used to just have AP Literature and English 12 Academic. So we had a whole group of kids that weren't really well served. So we had those high achieving kids who were trying to go AP and everything and, you know, reach for it. And if they had to fall back, they were falling back to academic. Well, now we've got dual enrollment as another option. And one of the benefits about dual enrollment is that the teacher gets to control the pace. Okay, so they know what they have to cover, but because there's not that pressure of the test, they can take the students where they are and work with them, maybe slower at the beginning, so that they get them where they need to be, but they control the pace. So it's a little bit less pressured. Okay, so there's benefits. There's a bunch of different benefits. You have to decide what's best for your student. Any other questions? Okay, well, we are excited to have you guys. I appreciate you coming. I would direct you towards the resources, and
And please get some coffee, and Ms. Eichel said she would be around for some individual questions. We'll be here for another 15 minutes or so. So thank you. Thank you.